Hello friends, welcome to Misty Moon Designs. In my studio, we dive into the world of jewelry making with exciting unboxings and creative inspirations. And today we're going to be making a pretty necklace and earring set, and we're going to use the beads that came in Didi's Deluxe Bead box for the month of November. Now, if you're not familiar with that box, I'll leave some information down below in the description section of this video, along with a link to the website and a coupon code in case you're interested. And don't forget that I always model my pieces at the end of my videos, so please stick around for that. As you can see, this beautiful necklace features gorgeous, transparent rectangular beads with a bronze edge, as well as some smaller, sparkly faceted crystals. What makes this necklace so pretty is that the rectangular beads are transparent, so you get to see the gorgeous color of the glass. And the other nice thing about this necklace and earring set is that it's very simple to make, so whether you're a beginner or advanced, I'm sure you're going to love today's tutorial. So let's go ahead and get started. And here we have Didi's Deluxe Bead box for the month of November 2024. The name of this box is Holiday Elegance. And I did do an unboxing video a few days ago. If you haven't seen it, I'll leave a link down below so you can go check it out if you want to. But anyway, as always, the November box was absolutely stunning. The color palette had blues and reds and some gold as well. And it was very difficult for me to choose. But when I saw those rectangular transparent beads, I just couldn't resist. And if you've been following my channel, you'll know that I love transparent beads, whether they're clear glass or colored glass. I wanted to team up these beads with some smaller ones, so we'll be using these very tiny beads, and that'll give the piece a more dainty look. So let's go over the sizes of the beads and the materials we'll be using for today's project. Here are the materials from the box. We have some beads and we have these two components. And how do you like my sunny studio? I had to move my filming station to one of the rooms upstairs in my house because my studio in the basement was too noisy. We have a utility room down there, and the air conditioning unit and hot water unit kept turning on all the time. And it was very disruptive during the filming of tutorials. So anyway, I'm up here in one of the upstairs room by the window, and I've got some lovely sunshine coming in, which I really like. It's definitely very cheerful up here. So anyway, let's go over these beads. In this tray, I have some 4mm faceted crystals, and they're round, and the color is champagne. And here I have some rectangular shaped glass beads with a bronze edge. And as you can see, they're transparent. The color is Siam red, and they measure 10 by 8mm. Now, if you purchase this box, you may have seen on the list of contents that they're listed as squares. I think that was a typo because they're actually rectangles. I'm just letting you know in case you go looking for these beads in that box. But anyway, I'm sure you've already noticed that. And I love these two links. I love the shape of them. They're actually listed as oval link frames, and they measure 15 by 8mm. Now, if you don't have this box, you can use any kind of oval link, any size, and I'm sure you can find these beads on the internet somewhere. Let me show you what else we'll be using today. We're going to be using some chain, and you can use any type of chain. It doesn't have to be the same kind that I'm using. I believe these links are 3 by 5mm, but I'll double check that and leave the details down in the materials list below this video. And I apologize that it looks messy. The reason it looks messy is because when I got this spool, it broke right there. And guys, don't ever let that happen to you, because once that breaks, then it doesn't hold the chain properly, and it just keeps sliding out like this. Now, in addition to the chain, we're going to be using some craft wire. And once again, my spool is all messy. It came off the spool. That happens a lot with craft wire. But anyway, this wire is 22 gauge, and it's in a gold color, as you can see. And it's German style wire, which means that it's a little bit tougher than other types of wire. In addition to all this, we'll be using some ball head pins and a clasp and some ear wire hooks for the earrings. But I'll bring those out later on when we get ready to use them. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you how to make some beaded components and how to connect them. But basically, today we're going to be creating 2 strands for the lower part of the necklace. And then for the upper part, we're just going to use some chain. So let me go ahead and show you how to make the lower strand or the lower tier. And here I have a small piece of wire. It measures about 1 inch, maybe a little bit more. 1 inch and 2/8 maybe. I'm going to use it for these rectangular beads. Obviously for these, you're going to need a length that's a little bit smaller or shorter. Now, since this wire is German style wire, I'm going to create some simple loops today. I do recommend that you keep your loops on the small side so that they're a little bit stronger. Using these pliers, these are called tapered flat nose pliers, and I really don't know why they're called tapered because the tip doesn't look tapered to me. But anyway, as you can see, it's 2mm wide, and that's why I like to use these. I'm going to grab the wire at about a little bit less than 3/8 of an inch, I would say. And I'm going to bend it. Using round nose pliers, I'm going to grab the end, making sure that it's flush with my barrels. And I'm going to create a loop. You want to make sure you close your loop. You want to make sure that it's centered as well. Sometimes what I like to do is to flatten it. I've been doing a lot of that lately. Let me slide on a bead. Like that. Using these flat nose pliers again, I'm going to grab the wire, bend it. Using my round nose pliers, I'm going to grab the end and form a loop. Make sure it's centered and closed. I'm going to grab the loop now with these pliers, and with another set I'm going to grab the other one and line them up. So there's my first component. Here I have another small piece of wire. This one's a little bit shorter than what I used on that bead. Once again, I'm going to grab the wire at 3/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit less, bend it, grab the end with my round nose pliers, make sure it's flush, and form a loop. Once again, you want to make sure it's closed and centered. Let me flatten it. This time I'm going to grab one of these small ones, and it's really difficult to see where the holes are. So there it is. I'm going to grab the wire again with my flat nose pliers, bend it. Using flush cutters, I'm going to cut off the excess, leaving a little bit less than 3/8 of an inch. Grab the end and form a loop. Let me close it. I'm going to grab it with these pliers, grab the other one, and line them up. So there's a tiny beaded component. Let me go ahead and open up this loop, slide this bead into it, and close it. So now I have two beaded components connected. And that's basically it. It's very simple. It's the same step over and over. It doesn't get any easier than that. So basically, I'm just going to link the beads like this. Until I use up all of these. And I did play around with this design ahead of time. I'm estimating that I'm going to end up with a length that's about 11 inches long. But you can make it as short or as long as you want to, obviously, depending on how many beads you want to use. One thing I do want to mention, because somebody asked me the other day whether or not you can do wrap loops instead of simple loops. Of course you can. It's personal preference. Now, if you're doing wrap loops, I recommend that you use 24 gauge wire, especially if it's German style. And like I said earlier, as long as you keep your loops small, it's perfectly fine to use 24 gauge for wrap loops. So this is the lower tier, and the upper tier is going to consist of these beads alone. So I'm not going to have any rectangles in between. It'll be just one 4mm beaded component connected to another one until I get the length that I want. It's going to be a shorter strand, and I'll figure it out once I connect them, but more than likely it'll be about 10 inches long. And I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm going to go ahead and create these strands off camera, and then I'll come back and show you how many beads I used for each one, and the measurements as well. So I'll see you in a few moments. As you can see, I've completed both strands. This top one measures 8 1/4 inches, and this one down here measures 9 3/4 inches. I used a total of 20 beads on this shorter one, and the longer one has 9 rectangle beads and 8 of the smaller ones in between. Like I said earlier, you can make yours as long as you want to, depending on how you like to wear your necklaces. So now we just need to connect them. Here's one link, and here's the other link. I'm going to use some 4mm jump rings to connect them. Here are 4 of them. These are actually 24 karat gold plated, which means they won't tarnish as quickly. Now what I recommend you do before you connect your strands is to lay them out like this to make sure they're not all tangled up. In the past, I've connected the loops directly to links, but today I'm going to use jump rings so that they're more fluid. Sometimes if you don't use jump rings, the strands don't always hang very well unless you pay attention to the orientation of the loops. In other words, you'd want this first loop to be vertical so it connects properly to the link. I hope that makes sense. I'd recommend that you pay attention to that anyways, even if you use jump rings. Now in my case, since I'm using jump rings, the jump rings will be vertical, so this link needs to be horizontal, and so does this one over here. I hope that makes sense. I've already checked this strand, and both of these are horizontal, so I'm not going to change anything. But on this one, since I have an even number of components, this first one is horizontal, but this one's going to end up vertical, and I don't want that. I want both of them to be horizontal because I'm connecting them to the jump rings. So I'm going to change one of them. Let me go ahead and change this one. I'm going to grab the loop with my pliers like this, and I'm going to grab the other one with another set, and I'm going to turn them so they're perpendicular. I hope I'm not confusing anybody. If you're a beginner, you may have a little difficult time understanding that concept, but if you're advanced, I think you know what I'm talking about. It just helps the strands drape properly. I don't know if you've ever had a multi-strand necklace get all twisted up. More than likely that's the reason why. And normally when I'm by myself, I would actually pick up the strand and make sure that my loops are all laying the way they should be. But that requires me to be right on top of my work, and it's a little difficult when you're on camera. But I'm still going to try to do that. Let me attach this side first before I do that. You don't have to worry so much about the first one. It's the second one that you have to worry about. I'm going to open it up. Slide the loop into the jump ring, and now I'm going to connect this link and close it. So now I'm going to check my loops. This first one's horizontal, and so is this next one because I changed the orientation of the loops and I made them perpendicular. The next one's vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal. See how this one's twisted up? That's exactly what I'm talking about. Horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical, and horizontal. Let me open up another jump ring. I'm going to slide it in this way. And now I'm going to slide in the link and close up the jump ring. So now I have the upper strand connected. And now I just need to connect this one. So once again, you want to make sure that your loops are oriented properly. And this one's a little bit easier because the beads are bigger, so I can just lay it out like this. Let me open up a jump ring. And I'm going to slide this component into it. And now the link. And close it up. I like to flatten my jump rings like this to make sure they're closed properly. Now this is critical, guys, okay? Because when you make the final connection at this end, you definitely want to make sure that your strands are not tangled up. Let me pick up this jump ring. Open it up. Slide in the component. And now this link, and I just flipped it. Just make sure that when that happens that you flip it back. So now I have my two strands connected. They're actually going to lay like this once you put the necklace on. I think it's very pretty, and I like the distance between this strand and this strand. So now we just need to attach chain at the top. I have a piece of chain here. I've already calculated how much I need based on the lengths of my strand and the component. So basically what you need to do is to measure the shorter one plus the components. And in my case, the shorter one measures 8 1/4 inches. And each one of these lengths plus the jump rings measure about 3/4 of an inch. So that's about 9 3/4 inches. And this chain measures a little bit over 4 inches. So that gets me to about 18 inches. Plus don't forget that the clasp will add a little bit more to the length. These are all the things you need to take into account when you're trying to figure out how long you want your chain to be. Here's the other piece. Here I have 3 4mm jump rings, 1 6mm jump ring, and a lobster clasp. And I do want to attach an extended chain. So here's a small piece of chain. It's the same chain that I'm using on the strands. And I am going to embellish it. To embellish it, I'm going to use one of the small beads, the 4mm size. And this is a ball head pin, by the way. I'm going to grab the pin at the top of the bead like this. And I'm going to bend it. Switch to this part of the pin. I'm doing a wrap loop, guys, in case you're wondering, for those of you who are beginners. So now I've wrapped the tail around the nose. I'm flipping my pliers around. Continue to wrap to the back. Let me open up that loop. Slide my small piece of chain into it. Like that. I'm going to grab it with these pliers. These are actually crimping pliers, but I like to use them because the tips are really skinny and they grab really well. And now using these pliers, I'm going to grab the tail and I'm going to do a couple of wraps. You can do as many wraps as you want to, by the way. Let me cut off the excess. I'm going to tuck in that little end. So there's my extended chain. So let's go ahead and do the final assembly and attach the clasp. And this part's pretty easy. Let me open up one of these 4mm jump rings. Slide the chain into it. Attach it to the link. Close up the jump ring. Open up another one, another small one. Slide the clasp into it. Attach it to this end and close up the jump ring. This jump ring's actually a little wonky, but I think it'll be okay. Let me make sure it's closed. It looked like it was a little bit misshapen. So now let me open up this one. Slide the link into it. And the other long piece of chain. And close up my jump ring. Now technically you don't really need another jump ring at this end, but I like to use a nice big one because we have the extended chain, and I could have very easily made this side longer, but I think it makes it easier to connect the lobster clasp to a larger jump ring, and then if you want to wear it longer, you have the option of using the extended chain. Let me go ahead and open up this one. Slide the long piece of chain into it. And now the extended chain. Like that. And let me close it. So now this part's done. And there's my finished necklace. I would definitely wear this necklace to a Christmas event. I think it's really pretty. Now I can see myself shortening it up a little bit more so that it sits right below my collarbone, which is the length that I actually prefer. Or you could have it even shorter than that, or even much longer. It's actually very versatile. You can definitely do a lot of different things with this design. Now the earrings are very simple. I just figured since this is a statement necklace, I want my earrings to be pretty plain. Sometimes less is better. I've already made one. As you can see, I'm using the same link and the same beads that I used in the necklace. Now this ear wire hook is actually very high-end, it's gold filled, and I tried to open up the loop, but I couldn't for some reason, so that forced me to use 2 jump rings, as you can see, because you want your earring to face the correct direction, and you want that link to be flat like this. I hope that makes sense. They are a little bit longer than I want, but since they're so simple, it should be okay. Plus I have long hair, so long earrings look good on me. But guys, you're the master of your own universe, which means you can do whatever you want with these beads and this link. You could even eliminate the link altogether and just have the beads, and that would be fine too. So here's everything I need for the other earring. I'm going to start by mounting this bead like this, and now the rectangle bead like this. Once again, I'm going to grab the pin at the top of the bead, and this time I'm going to make 3 wraps. So I'm moving the pin a little bit further down the nose of my barrels. I'm going to bend it, switch to this part, wrap the tail around the nose, flip the pliers around, continue to wrap to the back. I'm going to open up this loop, slide my oval link into it like this. Grab the loop with these pliers. Grab the tail and do my 3 wraps. Let me cut off the excess. I'm going to tuck in that end. So that part's done. Let me open up one of these little jump rings. Slide the link into it. Open up this one now. Sometimes it's hard to see where the opening is. I'm going to slide the little jump ring into the one that I just opened, and now the ear wire hook. and close it up. So this earring is done. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial, and I hope you like this necklace and earring set. Hopefully you can make your own. If you have time, I'd like to get your feedback. If you could leave some comments down below, I'd really appreciate it. As always, I'm going to go ahead and put it on to show you how it looks like. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.